how you can be the greatest salesperson on the planet. But for me to say that I created the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, me and me only, is just not true. It's just not true. I had so much help along the way. And I know that in my heart of hearts that I did go to Mr. Hamilton, and he was very gracious, and he gave me my list of things that I should be doing to be a successful car dealer, none of which I was doing, and started doing them, and things improved from there. And I've told that story numerous times, and I can certainly tell it again if you'd like me to. And then I also, but because I saw that working, I kept doing it. I kept going to expert counsel. I would find somebody, the smartest guy in the room, the smartest girl in the room, and geez, do you mind if I sit down and have a cup of coffee with you? And I would pick their brains, and they'd give me these ideas, and I'd say, wow, that's a great idea. Let me try. My problem with the ideas is I had too many. I would get too many, and I had to pare it. I always wanted to pare it down to 10. Yeah. So I'd be in these situations. They're called think tanks. I'd be in a think tank, and I'd be asking questions. And what I would do, this is interesting. I'm going to get a little off the track here, but what I would do is I would take a blank piece of paper, and I would write at the top of that piece of paper. I did this every time without fail. I wrote, I am here to learn. Mm-hmm. And then I would write numbers, and I would just number the lines 1 through whatever. And so I would be with expert counsel. That could be John Amato, that could be Mr. Hamilton, that could be you, that could be, who knows? It's somebody that's done what I want to do successfully is expert counsel to me. Yes. And so I'd ask these questions, and what would happen was I would have so many ideas. I knew that if I had 100, there's no way I could get that done. I knew that if I had 20, that would be maybe the extreme of being able to get them all done. So typically I would take the 20, if I got down to 20, I would take it down to 10. And I would do it with a prioritization method. So I would take and I can remember doing this. I'd have, let's say, got it down to 20. I'd star which ones are going to have the most impact. And those are the ones that I went back and worked on. And then I would go back and keep going and going. And then sometimes those ones that I had to get off the list, I put back on the list at some point. And I just kept doing that. And the think tank would meet, it was either 3 or 4 times a year. Mm-hmm. So we would do that. Mr. Hamilton, I met with Mr. Hamilton once a week. Yeah. Once a week. Yeah. Go out to lunch, sit in his office. I can remember one time early on, I was in Mr. Hamilton's office, and I was struggling like I am now with what I'm going through. I was struggling. And I said to I was talking to Mr. Hamilton, probably poor mouth, and like you do, complaining, whatever. Mm-hmm. And he's over there with his pen and grabs a piece of paper and starts writing something on this piece of paper. Didn't say a word to me. Yeah. And he reaches I think his arm was about 10 feet long, reaches his arm across his desk and hands me this piece of paper. I remember the guy's name was Russell Carr. It was like a notepad. It was an advertising thing. But on that piece of paper, Mr. Hamilton had written illegitimate non-carborundum. And underneath that, in quotation marks, he wrote, "Don't let the bastards grind you down," which sounds irreverent, but it's really not. But I read that, and I thought, gosh, I'm letting the bastards grind me down. And so the question becomes, who are the bastards? Yeah. And the bastards are the naysayers in life, which I had those. And the media can be that example, and just in that kind of thing. But then really the ultimate bastards, do you know who they are?
I was going to say our thoughts, right?
Self-doubt.
Yeah.
Self-doubt. Yeah. The blame game, not taking responsibility for the stupid crap that I was doing or whatever the case may be. So I was letting the bastards, meaning mainly Jim Shorkey. Wow. Jim Shorkey was grinding Jim Shorkey down. And I had to come to that realization. And I thought that Mr. Hamilton was a really cool guy. I love that guy. I miss him. He was quirky, and he would say stuff that was just his stuff per se. And I thought that's what it was. Yeah. So I kept it with me for years and years. And then out of the blue, I think I was talking to Chuck Bellina or you or somebody. I did a Google search on this. It turns out it's a real thing. Yeah. Illegitimate non-carborundum. It was a World War II thing and a message to the troops. Wow. And so you go to Amazon and dial that in, illegitimate non-carborundum. You can buy coffee mugs, T-shirts, coasters with this message on it. And so I've kept that very near and dear to my heart, and I've given that information to a lot of people, and because it's true. Sometimes, oftentimes, we're our own worst enemy. Yeah. We really are. Yeah. You know, we're doing this podcast right now, and it's, am I good enough? Do people want to hear what I have to say? Right. Can we really do this? Can we pull this off? Are the cameras going to work right? And is Derek going to be smart enough? Is Jim Shorkey going to be smart enough? Or you helped out.
And I just want to say, for those of you, welcome to the Rethink Sales Show. We just love to have honest conversation about connecting with people and the value of selling and selling well. And my background is marketing for the past 10 years, and you being an expert salesman, right? Recognizing that
I hope so.
those self-doubts pop up so often in the selling process.
They do.
Oh, I called this person. Oh, I called them again. Oh, I never heard back. Oh, I left. Like, we teach so many practical ways to do this, but there's self-doubt after, oh, that's the 5th phone call I've made.
Yep.
That's the 5th social media post I've done. I've knocked on 7 doors today and nobody answered. We start to let those lies creep in and start to tell them, if you only did X, if you only did Y, and we start to beat ourselves up.
Yeah.
And what we teach is there will be setbacks, but overcoming those setbacks, that's a lot of what we teach in Rethink You 2.0.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get that at the link in the show notes. But what we really teach is the 8 to 9 step process that you go through to break down those self-doubts, your reason why, the 5 desires, right? We can go through the whole process, but those pieces really teach you to work on this, right? To work on this thing that keeps us trapped, right?
And that's an interesting thought. So the name of the program is called Rethink You. And so the idea is the thinking, let me back up. Results are the name of the game. Results are the name of the game. And so results are information, right? If you have good results, the information is there's a good chance I'm doing something right. If you have bad results, the information is there's a good chance I'm doing something wrong. And so you persist with this idea of what you're doing, but you keep getting bad results. Right. It's time to stop. It's time to stop and rethink you. Okay. And so when I was working with Chuck Bellina and then on to Derek here and just trying to figure this out, the question that kept coming up to me was, how did you do what you did? How did you do what you did? How did you build the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group? How did you fix ABC? How did you get from point Y to point Z? How did you do that? And so I had to really think about that. And I went through this process of self-reflection and trying to figure out, what did I do? What did I say? How did I do it? And so I did. And that's what Rethink You is all about, is a step-by-step process that we have created that isn't theoretical. It's not. It's exactly what I did to build the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group. And the best part about the whole thing is that we have tested it. So I tested it, sure. But you can say, oh, yeah, that's Jim Shorkey. You're a car guy, blah, blah, blah. No wonder. Yeah, you're Jim Shorkey. No, we've tested it with the widest variety of people that we could have ever imagined. Yeah. And the people, ladies, gentlemen, young, old, doesn't matter. Yeah. When they do exactly what we tell them to do in Rethink You 2.0, they have incredible results. And remember, results are the name of the game. Yeah. So that said, the genesis of this whole idea is that we're going to teach you in the program, but I'm going to give you the genesis of it is you have to have a goal or goals, preferably one really important goal, just to prove that this works. So you have to have a goal, okay? And it's got to be very clear, concise. You really almost have to be able to draw a picture of it, right? It can't be, I want to be rich. No, that's not a goal. I want to make X number of dollars, very specific. How many zeros, how many commas, all that. It's got to be very specific, a very specific, concise goal. I'm telling you, this is really important. The second aspect of this idea is you have to have a reason why. Yes. And that reason why, by definition, must make you cry. And my nose is running because I just got done, excuse me, I'm sorry, but it is, because we've been discussing this and it makes me very emotional because I know the idea is if I can just get one person today to say, you know what, I'm going to do this. It's time. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm going to do this, right? And so you have to have a reason why that makes you cry. My reason why that I'm here today is because I know what happened. I know what happened. And I know what Mr. Hamilton did for me, and John Amato and the Vandeveers and Charlie Burton and on, and Jim, and even my mentors that don't even know me, Jim Rohn and Napoleon Hill, and just so many mentors. So I know what happened, and I can't take credit for it, but I do believe in this heart of hearts that if I take this knowledge to the grave with me without sharing it, that I will be the most selfish person in history. I believe that in my heart. That's why I'm here. Do you have a goal? Is it clear and concise? Do you have reasons why that make you cry? And what I mean by cry, they make you emotional. And in fact, with me, they do create tears, and they do create my nose running. I get very emotional about it. So my reasons why do in fact make me cry. And then the third aspect of this, which we're going to teach you in Rethink You 2.0, is seek expert counsel. Find somebody who has done what you specifically want to do and successfully. Find somebody who has done what you specifically want to do and they've done it successfully, and have a conversation. And that conversation could be one-on-one. It could be through a book. It could be through a podcast. It could be through any variety of venues. But you seek expert counsel to figure out what is going to be on your to-do list and what is going to be on your to-not-do list. And so we're going to teach you this in Rethink You 2.0. So if you have a to-do list, then you start checking them off. But sometimes the most powerful part of this is the to-not-do list. What should I stop doing?
Exactly.
Because results are the name of the game. And the question then becomes, okay, if results are the name of the game, Jim Shorkey, what produces results? A lot of people in our space are going to tell you thinking. No, it doesn't. Thinking does not produce results. It does not. Okay? Actions are the only thing that produce results. And I will be clear about this. Clear. No action is, in fact, an action. No action is an action, okay? And so you may say, you're not in action right now, Jim. Yes, I am. I'm sitting. Sitting is an action. I'm sitting right now. And if I choose to stand up, then standing up would be that action. But no action is an action. No decision is a decision. You're deciding to not decide. Your action is no action. That's an action. The only thing that produces results, and remember, results are the name of the game. The only thing that produces results are actions, right? And so where does thinking come into it then? Because our company is Rethink You. Well, it's thoughts about the goal and the reasons why they make us cry that produce the feelings, the emotions, right? Thoughts and then feelings and then actions, okay? So it's thoughts, feelings, actions, results. So I'm not saying that thinking isn't important. Of course it is. It's really important, but it's not enough. You can think all day long about what you want to do. I would suggest you throw in a few push-ups. I would suggest you throw in a walk. I would suggest you throw in 10 pages of reading, whatever the case may be. What's on your to-do list? Read 10 pages a day, do 10 push-ups, go for a 10-minute walk. These are all actions. And your list should be very comprehensive based on the expert counsel relating to your goal and your reasons why to make you cry. And so it's the actions that produce the results. Let's not mistake that. Actions are what produce results, and results, in fact, are the name of the game. If you don't like your results, that's an indication that you're doing something wrong. And so what Derek and I are going to talk to you about in Rethink You 2.0 is executing what is called a pivot.
Yes.
P-I-V-O-T, pivot. People will tell you that persistence is the key. No, it's not. Jim, I just committed a big error. Persistence, persist, try harder. No, if you want to go west, but you find yourself going east based on self-reflection. So you want to go west to LA. So you want to go west, but you find that you're going east. Should we persist? Should we try harder? Trying harder is just going to get us further away from the goal.
Yeah, you're going the wrong direction,
Persisting is just going to get us away from the goal twice as fast. No, persistence is not the answer. Whoever's telling you persistence, stop it. It's not true. And it's not good. So what we should do is understand, and I'm going to get off my soapbox in a second here, understand clearly that results are the name of the game. And if we don't like our results, it's an indication that there's a good possibility we're doing something wrong. We then seek expert counsel to run up the flagpole of what we are doing, and expert counsel says, I can see your program right away. You're doing D, E, F. Stop doing those three. That's going to cause you problems. I did that and it messed me up. So we figure out what we should be doing, what we should stop doing, and it's called a pivot. So instead of continuing with the eastward direction, we pivot and we start heading west. Now we're making progress. Okay? And so once we get the right plan, you mentioned about plan and strategy.
Yes.
So we get the plan from expert counsel, which really does become the strategy. And good strategy, good results, bad strategy, bad results. So once we get the plan, then we persist with that plan.
Yes.
And we give it, oh boy, we just beat the living crap out of it.
Yeah.
And so we start seeing results. And what I did with Mr. Hamilton was that needle started to move and started moving. I could see the results. So I kept doing it. Went back for more information, kept doing it. And anytime that I saw the results flagging, I would self-reflect and maybe consider seeking advice. So I would go to Mr. Hamilton and say, hey, I've been doing what you told me to do, but here's where I'm at. Oh, you know what? You got this one wrong. You're doing E wrong. Here's what you misinterpreted. And so I do another pivot within that strategy and I move on to success. Persistence is only useful when you're on a good strategy. Try harder is only useful when you're on a good strategy. When you're on a bad strategy, and please, if you capture nothing from this little soapbox, if you capture nothing. When you're on a bad strategy, persistence and try harder are awful strategies.
Yeah.
Within that strategy, they're awful. You need to stop. Right? And reflect, get expert counsel, pivot, and then move on to success.
Yeah, guys, if you're listening and you're hearing just what Jim said, really, he's giving you not just years of advice and trial and error, right? But he's telling you it's really important to seek expert counsel to get a plan and then take that plan and use that strategy that you develop to see results. And right. And so many people end up stuck and they're like, what do I do? How does this work? Right. And Jim's saying, if you're going east and you want to go west, you probably haven't really set out a clear plan. There's probably something you're missing.
Yeah,
so go
no
to
question.
expert counsel, people around you that want to invest in you, that want to see you succeed. Sometimes some of the best advice and some of the best and hardest conversations we've had, Jim, is when we see things differently than each other. But I welcome that into my life from people who have different perspectives than I do because they care about me and they want to see me succeed and they have perspectives on sales, on marketing, on different arenas that I may not have.
Yeah,
And they'll come to say, Derek, I was talking to somebody this morning. I think you have the wrong perspective on this, right? Because you're such a caring guy, you made this choice, right? You should have did this. And I said, oh my gosh, they're right. And it's recognizing that often we just say, oh, I made a plan 2 years ago. I'm just going to keep pounding it. Hopefully it works. I want to start a business. I'm just going to keep going. I want to, what we were talking about with Rodney Little earlier. I want to help people. If I just have more people and more dogs, it'll be great. But there's got to be a fleshed out strategy and a plan.
Question.
And people around you that can say, oh, I actually think you need to do it this way. And if you can stop and self-reflect, often it takes self-reflection to say,
yes,
Jim probably had to look at that list from Mr. Hamilton that he often talks about and say, do I really want to do this list? And Jim decided, yes, I do. But he could have made that choice in that moment to say, I don't want to do this.
Or I'm only going to do 8 out of 10, which I didn't do that. But
Right.
so I do want to make a couple points that you hit on and real quickly here. Trial and error is a recipe for disaster.
Yes.
I do not recommend trial and error. And the reason being, the trials take way too long. Okay. And the errors can be devastating. The errors can literally put you out of business, put you in the grave, whatever the case may be. Trial and error is a recipe for disaster. Okay. That said, figure out what you want clearly, get emotional about it. There's your reason why I make it cry, and then seek expert counsel to get those steps, the to-do list and the to-not-do list. And that said, with those two lists, there is an element of trial and error in there. Either you misinterpreted the list, what the intent of the list was, so you're doing it wrong, or maybe the list that you got wasn't necessarily a good list for you relative to the whole list per se. So you go back to expert counsel and you say, I'm doing all these things, but I'm stuck on this one here. And they say, well, you know what, let's just leave that one off. And so you leave it off. That's the pivot, right? So there is going to be trial and error with this concept that we're teaching here called expert counsel, but the shortest distance between 2 points, mathematically speaking, is a straight line. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And those 2 points that we're talking about is, where am I now? Okay. That's the first point. The second point is, where do I want to go? That's the goal. The shortest distance between those 2 points is a straight line. However, in our case, that straight line is seek expert counsel. If somebody has already done what you want to do, doesn't it make sense to pick their brain and say, geez, how did you do that? And they say, I did these things here. Chances are, if you do those things, you're going to get great results, because results are the name of the game, and actions are what produce the results. If those actions work for this lady or gentleman, they'll most likely work for you as well. But that said, there is some trial and error in there. So I'm not an advocate of trial and error, knowing that with Seek Expert Counsel and getting my list together, there's going to be a certain amount of trial and error whereby just some things don't work as well as for me as they did for the other person. It could be a genetic thing, it could be a environmental thing, or a market thing, whatever the case may be. But you have to be prepared to understand the results of the name of the game. If the results from that expert counsel aren't what you want, go back and clarify. That's the self-reflection part of it, and get you a modified list. It's called a pivot, P-I-V-O-T. So we pivot from the original list that Mr. Hamilton gave me, which was a list of 10, and maybe the next list is 15. That didn't happen, by the way. The list that he gave me worked. He was a really good car dealer, so it worked. And most of the stuff that I got, I would say probably the vast, like 90+%, it worked really well. So that was my secret. But for you, it may be something different. I'll give you that. So there is going to be a certain element of trial and error. But if you enter into a situation of goal, reasons why to make you cry, and you start off with just shooting from the hip, trial and error, you're going to get crushed, most likely.
Yeah.
Make sense?
And I think what you're talking about is not only did Mr. Hamilton give you a list, but you were consistent in that list.
Oh, yeah.
But you weren't
Execution.
just persistent in doing a bad strategy. You knew he had proven results.
Yep.
And you trusted his counsel, right? And you followed through consistently. Because you could have done it for a week or 2 or 3 or 4 months or 4 years and stopped.
Right. And yeah, you bring up a great point. So, what produces the results? Actions. And so we talk a lot about, in Rethink You 2.0, we talk about a strategy. And in order to have great results, you by nature have to have a good to great strategy. Okay. Mm-hmm. But that's only one component of it.
Yeah.
The other component of it is execution. So we want to have a minimum B+ strategy. Could we have A-, A+? Yeah, of course. But sometimes you drive yourself crazy trying to find that better strategy. Let's get a B+ strategy, or let's get a B strategy, B-, B+, whatever. It's a good enough strategy. But then the second component of it is executing. We want to execute that B- strategy at 100% or as close as we possibly can get. And then that's going to produce the results. And then we keep analyzing our results and keep seeking expert counsel to potentially modify the plan in the future to get even better results. But I'll tell you what, if we're getting the right results, nothing wrong with a B- strategy. Nothing wrong whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
Jim, this is so good. For those of you listening, check out Rethink You again in the link below. But I think what really Jim gave you here is how to create a good strategy and how to combat bad strategy, right? And that's what we started talking about. You started off just telling that really heartfelt story of, this is what I've been through and this is how I got here. And so this may take you time to sit down and do. And that's, we always talk about, what does it cost you not to do the program, right? You're thinking, oh my gosh, I got to sit down and get a plan. Then I got to figure out how to turn that plan into an excellent strategy. I got to find good expert counsel. I got to execute all this while having a family, while having whatever's in your life, while working, while having a full-time job, right? That's why this program is really helpful, because what it does is it streamlines a process that all of us have used, and not just us, but hundreds of people have gone through this program.
It's expert counsel.
And it allows, it gives you that framework. It gives you a way to think about it that really allows you to go through that process and to use that process to see results.
So do you see this face right here, right now? Do you see this body? Roughly a year ago, I had a hemorrhagic stroke. I had 3 brain bleeds. I should have died. I could have died. Should have. There's no question about it. The doctors call me amazing. They call me a miracle. They call me all kinds of things like that, because it's just like, I shouldn't be talking right now the way I am. I shouldn't be able to move my body the way I do. And so this is just another journey in the life of Jim Shorkey, involving being at a certain point, which less than a year ago, I could barely walk with a walker. And when I did, it was maybe for 2 or 3 minutes, and I had to lay down and take a nap, okay? Yesterday, I walked 9 miles, okay? And I want to be clear here. I am using Rethink You 2.0 for my reclamation of Jim Shorkey. I am. There's absolutely no question about it. And I can prove it. And Derek knows I can. I can prove it. I can prove it.
Yeah.
I'm using Rethink You 2.0 to reclaim my own body, my own brain, the whole thing. 3 brain bleeds. We're talking some serious stuff here, serious stuff. I have neuropathy in my leg, my right leg here, and I'm working very hard. I sought expert counsel, and this is not medical advice, so please don't take it this way. Don't do what I'm doing. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. So I'm doing all kinds of therapies from expert counsel to reclaim my leg, right? Red light therapy, acupuncture, cold water immersion, diet. One of the things for neuropathy that I'm told is very good, again, not medical advice, is exercise. So I walk. Derek can back me up on this. I'm literally, my watch will buzz me and say, hey, time to walk. And I go walk. And so I go all day long with these different therapies that I got as a result of Rethink You 2.0. Yeah. So it's the same thing as to becoming wealthy, becoming healthy, having a great marriage. It's all the same.
Yeah.
It's find somebody who's done it really well and have a copying contest.
Yeah. So this is what good strategy looks like, right? This is what execution looks like. Thank you guys so much for just tuning in. Go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go ahead and give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you're listening on. We would love to get your feedback on this content. Our goal is to help people, whether it's entrepreneur, salespeople, really get clear on good strategies that can help them sell more, but sell more so they can help more people and leave the impact they were meant to leave. So thank you so much, guys. See you on the next episode.